So with this month being Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about something very important and something that is an intentional activity that people do that promotes psychological and emotional wellness. And that activity or action that we usually implement in our practice, or in several practices rather, is self-care. Now, by definition, I believe that self-care is a culmination of actions or activities that aim to promote psychological and emotional wellness. One, helps regulate mood. It helps with reducing irrational thought and behavior. Furthermore, I would say that the activities within the self-care routine should be something that brings you a sense of purpose and should improve rather your self-confidence and improve your self-esteem. But what are those activities? Now, at best, the description that I get is vague. What are the activities that people do that would promote these things that I mentioned? So I took a few activities and I divided them into two categories and listed them down. And I labeled those categories as normal and unhealthy behaviors versus normal and healthy behaviors. Now, in order to understand what these two categories are, I had to give normal a definition. And in this essence, normal is any activity or actions that we do that is societally acceptable. It's a well accepted in society, and it fits our current social norm. So it must be something that is sort of in fashion, if you wanna call it that. So these activities are regarded as normal if it fits within our current social norm and it's accepted by society. If we had to rewind the clock back a few years, we take into account the prominence of cigarettes. Cigarettes once upon a time was a very big in thing, very, very well accepted in society. It was so well accepted that you'd notice it on TV, whether in ads or in movies. You would notice it at the back of magazines. You would notice it labeled across various Formula One cars, various brands smacked on Formula One cars. And during that time, it was a very normal and socially accepted activity to do. But as time went on, we came to realize that cigarettes don't have any benefits at all, aside from creating an addiction, which is a negative benefit in that essence. And we noticed that there were a lot of health complications. It affected your breathing, it affected your teeth, it affected your heart, it affected a lot of things. And so a campaign was out there to ensure that it never does that. Over time, they wanted to reduce smoking. They wanted people to stop smoking, or they didn't want people to pick up a cigarette at all. But now we come into the current social state, and what came about was an alternative, and that was vaping. So something that is accepted in society. Smoking cigarettes are accepted in society, but it's not exactly something that people go to these days. Instead, they would pick up a vape, and they would do that because it's a current social norm. It's something that people do. Now, whether the health benefits are there or whether there's no health benefits at all, the jury is still out on that. But it's something that's widely acceptable. So with that example in mind, I came up with something. I had to ensure that I had a definition for something that is normal and unhealthy. And normal and unhealthy behaviors are activities or actions that people do that serve no benefit in their life. It holds no benefit in a person's life. There's no health improvement from it. There's no psychological wellness. There's no improvement in mood regulation, and it does nothing to your thought process. At best, it's one big distraction from stresses. I'll go back to the cigarette example, and one of the main reasons for an individual to pick up a cigarette was to reduce their stress. Now, from my understanding, the only way to reduce stress in this manner is addressing the stressor. Addressing the stressor would help improve or reduce your reducing the stressor would help. Confronting the stressor would help reduce stress and anxiety. But not many people do that, for various reasons, and again, that is a very normal reaction to have when it comes to a stressor being in your life. But then what are normal and healthy behaviors? So, by understanding what normal and healthy behaviors are, again, it's supposed to be something that actually promotes emotional wellness, psychological wellness. It's supposed to promote healthy mood regulation, bring you a sense of purpose and stuff. But what are the principles around them? What are the activities that need to go into these? And I came up with a few, and I've listed them down in 4 different categories. So the first one is personal quality management. The second one is physical effort. The third one is intellectual effort. And the fourth one is social interaction. And when it comes to personal quality management, it is everything that you do. It is all the activities that you use to enhance your personal wellness, or your personal quality of life, so to say. So what goes into personal quality management? The first thing that I did mention, that I had mentioned, was hobbies. Learning new hobbies or starting a very old hobby that you once had helps improve your mood and helps with regulating healthy behaviors and thoughts. Hobbies like taking up golfing, hobbies like learning something that you'd be able to do without feeling like it's a chore, so to say. Another thing is going to therapy, speaking to your therapist about things that bother you, exploring it, containing it, trying to find an alternative way to overcome certain anxieties or challenges that you may experience. And the last thing that I did mention was pampering. Now, pampering could be anything. Pampering is going to do your hair, going to do your nails, guys going for a grooming session, a shave and a cut. Those kind of things really do promote a sense of wellness. It promotes rest. It promotes purpose in one way or another. Mind you, these things don't need to cost a thing. I recall a client who mentioned that their mode of pampering was taking themselves for a picnic out in their backyard. They mentioned to me that they would set up a basket with lots of goodies, well-prepared foods, and snacks, and he would go out to the backyard, set up a blanket, rest his picnic basket, and have a picnic. That was quite interesting, and it sounded quite fun. And well, whether or not he does that or continues to do that is pretty unknown, but I'm hoping that he does. Now, the second thing that I have mentioned is physical effort. Physical effort is anything that builds your body, builds resilience and strength in your body. So that be going to the gym, taking a run, learning a new type of sport, perhaps. If gym is not something that you're interested in, maybe perhaps going on a dancing lesson, going to learn some form of fighting technique. Anything that would build your body and build resilience, physical resilience. Let's put it that way. A lot of my clients express that when they look at themselves in the mirror after doing self-care routines or activities within the self-care that relate to physical effort, they notice themselves and they feel more confident. They notice themselves and they feel very purposeful. The body changes that they experience builds a sense of self-esteem, so to say. And that was very interesting, and it drove them to continue their exercises, regardless of whatever exercises they did, or regardless of whatever activity they did to build their physical strength and resilience. They continued to do it. The third thing that I mentioned was intellectual effort. Now this, I mean, in other words, building knowledge, learning new things. Learning new things brings a sense of purpose. Learning new things makes you feel relevant, whether it's in your space, your current workspace, or whether it's something that you just want to learn out of interest. It brings you a sense of purpose knowing that you've learned a certain activity. You've learned something. Whether you learned a new type of activity, maybe you've incorporated it as a form of hobby. So reading would be one of those things that I would say builds a sense of knowledge, vocabulary, learning new words. Upskilling in your current workspace, that could help in some way, shape or form, build a sense of purpose and make you feel relevant within the field. So for example, a lot of individuals are trying to learn how to use AI and how to incorporate AI in their current work fields, whether it's data analytics, whether it's IT, whether it's psychology, whether it's engineering. They're doing the best that they can to learn these chatbots and implement them in their current state of in their current workspaces to help them feel, let's say, help them feel a sense of purpose in that essence. Learning new skills, that could be something that you can use as a hobby, or maybe it has nothing to do with your current field of work. It has everything to do out of own personal interest. So the list that I have over here about people's learning new, about people learning new skills is learning how to cook, learning how to make various cocktails, learning how to knit, sew. So those were a number of things that people learned that had nothing to do with their field of work. It was just something out of personal interest, but it did help them feel good. it did help them feel well, so to say, for the lack of the better word at this point. Last thing that I had a topic on, or the last principle that I mentioned, was social interaction. I'm going to go back to 2020, and I suddenly started realizing that since 2020 all the way up until now, a lot of individuals have created a space filled with activities that are not necessarily healthy, but they are isolating. Okay, so what are these? So what goes into social interaction? What goes into social interaction is meeting up with your friends, meeting up with family, and spending time with the people that you love, or going on date nights. These are important things. Why do I say these are important things? Is because human beings are social creatures. We thrive on being around people, whether we are introverted or extroverted. We thrive around being with other people. We thrive around listening to other people. We thrive around being in the company of other people because it makes us feel good in certain ways. Laughing, talking about stories, learning new experiences. Most of the time we do hear about new places and new things through the people that we engage with. But over time, this isolating behavior, or this isolation, has taken over social interaction. Leaving yourself with your thoughts is a very dangerous thing sometimes. So I will say, pick up the phone and interact with the people that you've invested your time in. Because there's a lot of times where people would make plans. You would make a plan to go and see your friends over the weekend. And this plan was made on Monday. Mind you, in this scenario over here, nothing has changed at all in your life. There's no change that occurred in your life. But come Friday, you are trying to find a way out of this social event. And you would say on Saturday, maybe you're not feeling well. Maybe a work came up. Maybe there's another plan in the way. Meanwhile, you are taking the time to sit down and do the opposite. You want to binge watch a series. You want to scroll through social media. And mind you, I have nothing against Netflix, or I have nothing against any form of social media in this essence, but there is that level of isolation. What does binge watching provide you? If it's something like providing you an escape, then what are you escaping from? If you're scrolling through social media and you're trying to escape some form of reality, what reality are you escaping from? Could you not get that escape from being around your friends and family? A more meaningful way to get to escape. So I want you to think about all of these principles that I did mention. The key to a self-care routine, or a good self-care routine, is that it must be explored. So you can have a list of activities that you have, and maybe there are some that you like and there are some that you don't like. The ones that you don't like, that's okay. You can discard them. The ones that you like, so as long as it fits into the criteria and the principles, implement them into your life. If you're learning new hobbies, or if you're learning something new and you see that you're failing, that's okay, keep trying. You are learning it for the first time anyway. So again, practice practice makes perfect, but I don't like to say that, so I don't always like to say practice makes perfect. But practice is good. And if you fail, that's okay. Do it again. Let's see how you are able to build a healthy self-care routine that promotes psychological and emotional wellness, helps with mood regulation, and improves our behaviors and our thoughts. So I'm going to be posting this up on YouTube, and I'm going to be posting this up on my podcast. I'm hoping that this will help in some way when you are trying to implement a self-care routine for yourself. If you are trying to get better in and overcome certain mental health challenges that you are going through. I'm going to be trying to post as well regularly. Perhaps I will have more topics and conversations that will be meaningful to you. So I'm going to be trying to post on a weekly basis. So look out for more, and until next time.